Quiet!
Yes, ma'am.
I'm so sick of your little nonsense mouth running.
Yes, Your Honor.
You a tall glass of nothing. Sitting up here clowning in this courtroom today, clapping and smiling, acting like a buffoon. I don't think I've ever said this in this courtroom before, Jerome, but I pray he's not this child's father. Boy sitting over here talking about he want to leave a seed in the world because he don't understand the possibilities for his life, and you all arguing back and forth with one another instead of encouraging and empowering these young people. I'm furious!
Ms. Hewlett slept with 2 men on the day she conceived her 2-year-old son, Bentley, but she believes he is Mr. Crisp's son. On the other hand, Mr. Crisp isn't as certain as she is because Ms. Hewlett is a serial cheat.
Ms. Hewlett, you admit that you slept with another man on the very same day you believe you conceived the son you have with Mr. Crisp.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Mr. Crisp, you claim Ms. Hewlett cheated on you at least 10 different times during your relationship.
Yes, Your Honor.
You confess that you don't believe that you fathered 2-year-old Bentley.
Ms. Hewlett has cheated on Mr. Crisp more than 10 times in the course of their relationship. How does she expect him to believe the child is his? Apart from that, she did sleep with 2 men on the day she conceived. So, the doubt's pretty strong.
Okay, but I mean, at least I tell the truth that I told him as soon as I cheated on him. I told him 3 hours later. I told him 3 hours later
That still don't give you no right to cheat on me.
So wait, Mr. Crisp, you admit that you haven't been the best you could be in this relationship.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you know that Ms. Hewlett does not care for your behavior.
She started cheating because she felt isolated and unloved. But Mr. Crisp says he was unavailable because he couldn't process the death of his father and was trying to drown it with partying and all. Cheating isn't the solution to a partner's unavailability.
You got blonde hair, blue eyes.
looks just like
he looks
me,
like Dennis
though.
the Menace.
So handsome.
Plus, she told me he's cheated on me. I've had friends tell me. I mean,
So
how
you-
can I not have a doubt that he's mine?
Because during the time Bentley was conceived, admittedly, Ms. Hewlett, you slept with someone else.
Yes, which he's passed away.
They are both in the wrong. Mr. Crisp shouldn't have left her alone for a long time, partying and whatnot. And Ms. Hewlett shouldn't have slept with every available person because her partner wasn't around.
Ultimately, you ended up having a sexual relationship with him
Yes, Your Honor.
around the time your son was conceived.
Yes, Your Honor.
How soon after that were you also intimate with Mr. Crisp?
Within a 12 to 24-hour period.
At what point did you come clean to Mr. Crisp?
I come clean pretty quick.
First, we have to talk about Ms. Hewlett's nonchalant stance. That lady looks like she doesn't care. Secondly, how do you sleep with 10 men within your window of conception? This is a woman who has 2 kids with a man she's in a committed relationship with. Well, I guess they weren't so committed.
There's no right to cheat
has
on me
Ms.
because I wasn't
Hewlett
there.
always told you you were Bentley's father, or has she ever
She
told
has
you?
told me that I wasn't before.
Oh,
We've
she has.
We've gotten a fight before, and she says, well, you just need to go on
Always
because you're not
fighting.
really his father anyways. A little later, she wants to call me on the phone and say, well, Noah's, what's my oldest son, he wants you back. I don't want to have nothing to do with you, but you need to come live with me.
They already have 2 kids together. Throwing it in his face that he isn't the father of the 3rd one couldn't have been nice. Ms. Hewlett shot herself in the leg by saying that to him. Well, let's find out more.
At times I do think he's not.
And you say the other gentleman is now deceased.
Yes, ma'am, he is. 3 months after I found out I
Did
was
he
pregnant.
have blonde hair? Did he have some of the features that you see in your son?
Yes, Your Honor. His sister says that Bentley looks just like his baby pictures.
So, Mr. Crisp, this certainly furthers your doubt.
Yes, Your Honor.
It's scary at this point because Bentley looks more like the other potential father than he looks like Mr. Crisp. However, this man is deceased. Then there's Mr. Crisp, who's grown attached to the boy. What's gonna happen if it turns out he's not Mr. Crisp's son?
Really doesn't look like Joe, but I hope he is Joe's because that way I made the mistake of Paula's dad could be 3 different men. And I want to break that cycle because if Bentley has a different dad, he needs to know that when he gets older.
It's devastating to see how kids are affected by their parents and their upbringing, and how things that shouldn't be passed down are passed down from one generation to another. Ms. Hewlett's mom has been in the same situation as her daughter, confused about Ms. Hewlett's paternity. This is not a convenient situation to be in, trust me.
Because what I see now is 2 adults here that can't figure out how to be in a healthy relationship, have no clue what commitment means, but ultimately it's the children that are suffering.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you have 2 kids
maybe 3, and you need to figure out how to keep your butt in the house and out of jail.
The couple could go on and on complaining about how one cheats and the other is never around, but that's not going to solve anything. They need to solve their individual issues and either work on the relationship or break up, because that seems like a healthier choice.
Find this out, get this, over with so I
You
can...
indicated that you do want Bentley to be your biological child.
Yes, Your Honor. And I was going to, get married to her and just settle down and live a happy life with my family.
And you would like to ultimately get married to Miss Hewlett?
Yes, Your Honor.
Of course, now he has the perfect plan. He wants to marry Ms. Hewlett, find a job, and do his part in raising the kids. He's suddenly inspired to be a better partner and dad just because of a few words from the judge. It's easier said than done, Mr. Crisp. It takes intentionality to make it work.
Get along, to take care of our kids and raise our family. I don't want us to suffer anymore. We've suffered a lot. I about lost him. I about lost my life. I mean, I do need his help. If he wants to be there, I need his help.
Will Ms. Hewlett and Mr. Crisp get a chance at the perfect family they want to build? Let's hear what the DNA results say. And hang on to your seat, guys, because you will not believe what this result is.
Mr. Crisp, you are his father.
Thank you. Man, that's great. That's great.
Did you not know that, Paula? That's good.
Mr. Heartfield is in court today with his wife to prove that the child his mistress claims is his isn't. The mistress, Ms. Streeter, says he's only denying the child to save his marriage. Well, let us see how true that is.
Miss Streeter, you claim that during your relationship with the defendant, he convinced you to get pregnant with his child, but what you didn't know is that he was a married man.
Yes, Your Honor.
You say Mr. Heartfield is only denying the child in order to save his marriage.
It's husband and wife against the mistress today. Although Mr. Heartfield admits to cheating, he doesn't believe he is the father of Ms. Streeter's child because she has multiple sexual partners. Well, let's get more details about the case.
Mr. Heartfield asked me to have a baby with him. We were dating for about 8 months, a long time. We were in a relationship, a committed relationship with just me and him. And throughout the whole relationship, he wanted to have a baby. He said he didn't get to raise any of his. So we went to the hospital and we got the birth control taken out together. We went together.
She's telling you guys a bunch of lies.
We already know this is going to be a heated episode. Ms. Streeter says Mr. Heartfield directly asked her to carry his child, but he's outrightly denying it, saying she's mixing him up with someone else.
What point did you discover he was married? Let's get to that.
He had ended up telling me a relative's name, and I had went on Facebook and found the relative, then found Mrs. Heartfield page, then that's when I seen pictures of them. And I didn't even call her right away because he had told me, like, them pictures are old, she's professional, and for her image, she don't want people to know that we're not together.
Each party claims the other person is lying, and we no longer know who to believe. Ms. Streeter still insists they were in a committed relationship for 8 months and that the pregnancy was intentional. But Mr. Heartfield says the story is false.
46-year-old married man, Mr. Heartfield, what game are you playing with a 22-year-old girl? I want to understand, game is this you feel like you need to play with a 22-year-old girl where your line is, I'm horny?
Your Honor, I am dealing with a 22-year-old.
Mr. Heartfield is more than twice Ms. Streeter's age. Wow. Now he's saying he plays her silly games because she blackmails him, and if he doesn't, she'll report him to his wife. Seems like Mr. Heartfield really cares about this marriage of his. Why then did he cheat?
Dominique deals with so many guys, okay? She found one that was an older guy, and she thought that I would be a cake daddy, or however you want to call it. The thing is that she found out, hey, you're dealing with a guy that ain't got no money, so now you waste your time.
That's not true. That's not true.
But because you done wasted so much time telling people that he's your baby's father.
Did Ms. Streeter just say he told her he would marry her? What was she thinking? Believing him? Mr. Heartfield thinks she chose him to fill the role of her baby daddy because, out of her many sexual partners, she thought he was the richest. Now that's crazy.
In on all of these details and the fact he's still texting this 22-year-old young woman?
No, he did not.
How did you even find out about this entire affair?
The text message that I received from her.
You get a text message.
A random text message that says, I'm in a relationship with your husband and have been for 8 months, and I'm pregnant.
Mrs. Heartfield is not happy. One would have thought the marriage was perfect with how her husband kept rambling about trying to save it. He doesn't even take care of the kids from his marriage. It now makes sense why he insists Ms. Streeter's child is not his.
Heartfield, you're a married man, but you're on this child's original birth certificate.
No, well, the name is printed. There's no signature of mine.
So at first you allowed your name to be printed?
They did that while I wasn't there, Your Honor.
This is the first copy before he took off the name.
Mr. Heartfield, you're saying it didn't go like this?
It didn't.
After the baby was born, Mr. Heartfield originally signed the birth certificate but quickly withdrew his signature. Why the back and forth, mister? Or is Mr. Heartfield right about the baby not being his? Are his suspicions valid?
During the time that Dominique and I met, I had my own place.
He was
Dominique
still
had her
living
own
with
place.
me. I didn't know he had his own place.
Wait a minute, I don't need her support. I don't need your support. I don't need her support. Please sit her down.
Hold on, Mr. Heartfield. Just a minute ago,
I don't
that's
want
your
her
wife
as
was a
support.
queen.
And yes, but she gonna speak like that and she's not supporting me, she's supporting somebody else.
Whoa, now I didn't see that coming. Mr. Heartfield just proved to the entire court that he is two-faced. He expresses his love for his wife, and seconds later, he disrespectfully asks her to sit down and shut up because she isn't corroborating his story. Wow.
Since
That's
baby
me.
Caleb
That's right. I
together.
did that last week, actually.
Also,
Something else.
Baby, sit down, please. You ain't got nothing to do with this.
I sure
Go ahead,
don't
Your
have
Honor.
anything to do with it.
I wish you
Pick
had
your
a
lie.
clue. Why are you here?
Because you asked me to be here.
Mr. Heartfield,
Yes.
I'm gonna let you pipe down just a little
Okay,
bit because your tone,
Yes, ma'am.
while you talking to your wife,
Yes, ma'am.
is making me edgy.
I understand.
It's making me edgy too.
Please sit down.
If he's acting this way in court, heaven knows how nasty he acts outside. Did he really think his wife was gonna stand there and support him after he cheated and lied to her? Wow, and it gets even worse.
And I didn't need it and I didn't ask for it.
I want a divorce if I can get one.
We good. I'm good with that. Not a problem.
You're classic. You're classic. You really are.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I mean, it's just, if I pulled up the profile of cheater, con man, clown, and coward.
You mean Mrs. Heartfield is wife number 7? Guess we've found ourselves a Mr. Evelyn Hugo. And what's with the clapping? This has to be one of the most arrogant men to appear on paternity court.
Mr. Heartfield, you may be one of the most disappointing men I've ever seen in this courtroom.
Thank you.
I mean, what a disgrace.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
I mean, you really should be so ashamed.
It doesn't bother me.
I know, I can
really
tell.
Yeah.
I have given you every opportunity to tell your story.
It's only been minutes, and Judge Lauren is tired of Mr. Heartfield. Now imagine how the two women have dealt with him for so long. Indeed, they need to run while they can.
You're clapping for your own idiocy.
I mean, you know.
And I love that.
Thank you.
I'm always hopeful for the spirit of an individual, and I try to see the good in everyone.
Right.
Lord, help us.
All right, you can just help me. I'll be cool with that.
Quiet!
Yes, ma'am.
I'm so sick of your little nonsense mouth running.
Yes, Your Honor.
You a tall glass of nothing.
Well, let's see if Judge Lauren gets the results she wants, because this is one really thorny issue. Hang on tight, because the results that Judge Lauren is about to read out could blow you away.
Mr. Heartfield, you are the father.
Okay, that's okay.
Do you understand now what you just made a child with?
Right.
Your son to end up in this position, standing between two women in a courtroom.
I can't teach him how to be nothing but myself now. If she wanted to one of the other guys, that's fine too. I don't care.
Mr. Baker doubts if he is Caleb's biological father because he had a vasectomy and shouldn't be able to give birth. However, his wife, Felice, sues him in a paternity court, hoping that a DNA test would prove that he's Caleb's father.
Ms. Baker, you say the fate of your marriage is riding on today's DNA results. You are suing to prove that your 3-month-old son, Caleb, was fathered by your husband, Mr. Baker.
Yes, Your
Now,
Honor.
Mr. Baker, you say it's medically impossible for you to have a child.
Although there's a tiny chance that men who went through vasectomy could father children, Mr. Baker believes his case is different. Getting pregnant was difficult for his wife, as she blacked out most of the time as a result of her excessive drinking habit.
I was drinking quite a bit. I was drinking pretty much every day, and I was blacking out at night, and I wouldn't remember periods of time. I wouldn't remember
Whether you were intimate with another man or not.
Yes, Your Honor. It's not fair to Mr. Baker, you know, and I love him with all my heart.
The curious man says that when they started the relationship, they didn't do things the right way. It started as an extramarital affair. Although they were in love from the beginning, it was pointless, as he didn't trust her completely.
Well, Your Honor, to be completely honest, when Felice and I had gotten together, the way that we got together was I had done some work in her home, and that's the way that we met. And we didn't do everything right. And I don't condone the actions that we took in our relationship. I was married, she was married.
Mrs. Baker had been on Oprah with her former husband, and her overspending habit was televised. For more spice, the judge remembers the episode and reminds her about the lies she told to hide the truth.
You know, that had put her in national limelight because she was overspending behind his back.
So you had instances in your previous marriage
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
that you said were revealed on the national stage, the limelight.
After she missed her menstrual period for 3.5 months, Felice thought she had hit menopause. Eventually, she had a pregnancy test, and the result was positive. Her husband didn't believe the result, so they bought 2 expensive tests from a different store, but the results were still positive.
I was getting a little bit of a belly, and it had been 3.5 months since I had a period. Actually, I thought I was going through menopause, and I mentioned to Mr. Baker that I had my menstrual cycle in 3 months, and he said, well, if you're pregnant, it's not for me. And so we went to the store and got a pregnancy test.
The judge asks Mr. Baker what his thoughts were after he discovered the pregnancy, and he responds by saying he did some research on the internet. His research was on what could cause a false pregnancy test.
When you found this out, Mr. Baker, what was your first thought?
I went on the internet. I Googled what can cause a false positive. And there's only 4 conditions that a false positive will show up on a pregnancy test.
Mr. Baker continues to say he couldn't sleep that night, but he went to work the following day. While at work, Felice called him and was crying over the phone hysterically because she thought she was dying of ovarian cancer. Confusing, right?
Next day, she calls me up at 11 o'clock crying hysterically. And I said, honey, what's wrong? She says, I'm not pregnant. I said, what do you mean you're not pregnant? How do you know? She goes, I'm dying of ovarian cancer.
Because
I have every symptom because she went and researched.
looked up the same thing.
Yes.
Eventually, a specialist provided facts about vasectomy to the courtroom. According to the specialist, getting a vasectomy done is a 50-50 chance, so it's advisable to check back twice at the hospital regularly.
Checking a sperm count to make sure that there's still no sperm and to make sure that that tube did not grow back together.
And that was the follow-up that he missed.
Correct.
Where they would have checked to see, potentially it almost would have reconnected itself.
Reconnected, exactly. So when we look at this, it does not make it impossible for him to father a child.
Does this mean Mr. Baker could actually be the baby's biological father? The only way to find out is through the DNA test result. Let's dig in.
Mr. Baker, you are the father.
After finding out she had a terminal illness, Ms. Holshoe seeks to uncover the true identity of who her biological father is, only to find out the most shocking surprises on her journey. It's one roller coaster to the next in this episode.
Ms. Holshoe, you claim your mother had an affair with the defendant's father, and today you're in court to prove that he is your biological father. Is that correct?
Now things get really heated in a matter of seconds. It felt like they all hated themselves from their previous lives. Apparently, the alleged father had passed away, but his daughters for sure weren't going to welcome Ms. Holshoe with open arms.
So I'm in the obituary as his daughter.
You are?
Yes, I am, ma'am.
That was a big mistake that her name was put into the obituary. Our father's sister did that.
No.
And did not tell any of us about it.
Ms. Holshoe found out she had a real dad in the most awkward way. Trust me, your mind isn't gonna believe what you're about to hear. Her stepdad and mom were having an argument. Boom. The bomb drops and she can't believe what she hears.
Because my stepdad was drunk and he was fighting with my mother, and he said, well, who do you think your father is? And so after that, my mother told me, and she took me and introduced me to DL.
Now the sisters for sure weren't going easy on Ms. Holshoe. They felt she was an imposter who was trying to spoil their family's name. They stood their ground and denied every single thing Ms. Holshoe said in the courtroom. Trust me, it was quite a show.
I was 19 at the time.
So you remember this day?
Oh, with clearly, like it was yesterday. They were sitting in a booth with my dad across from her and her mother. I was standing at the end and he said, I just brought you guys here to let you know that she's your son.
Some really interesting stories started to fly around the courtroom. Everyone was trying to air out their minds and beliefs. In the process, some nasty revelations jumped out. Trust me, They weren't nice, and some of it was just super fishy. But Ms. Holshoe stood her ground by saying,
My father had gone to at the bar where her mother was working and caught her cheating on him. That gave me
No topic.
the thought that obviously her mother probably has no idea who any of her children belong to.
It's not my fault you guys don't want to know me. It's not my fault that your dad had sex with my mother.
The courtroom was pretty heated up at this point, with both parties throwing shade at each other. Another one of their sisters walks into the courtroom. Surprisingly, she's on Ms. Holshoe's side. She believes that there is a chance that Ms. Holshoe is her sister. Now, that's interesting, wouldn't you say?
Believe that she is.
You do. Tell
Yes,
the
I
court
do.
why.
Because my father told me that she was.
She just needs a family, Your Honor, because her whole family,
She
she's
is-
shut out. They've shut her
No,
out
I've
because
shut
she's
them
such a
out.
devil.
Now she had quite a lot to say. Not only did she back up Ms. Holshoe's claim of being their sister, she also said their father was no saint. He was also messing around with other women. Wow.
Oh, we don't.
Our
we don't believe that.
dad
We
is all
don't
of our
deny
hero.
that our father slept around.
He is our hero to this day. And I'm not going to bash him, but yes, he loved women. And that's just the way it was. Some men hunt, some men don't.
Well, it's time to spill the beans on whether she was really his daughter or if it was all a joke. All eyes are on the judge as she gets ready to give the final verdict.
It has been determined by this court that the probability of half-siblingship between Diana Howard and Misty Lynn Holshoe is 98.1%.
So Mr. Kidd has come to the courtroom and is saying that Miss Rawlings manipulated him into thinking he was the father of Nathaniel until another guy came into the picture. He wanted confirmation of what he knows all along, that he is the real father. And Miss Rawlings says Mr. Kidd told her he couldn't even have kids, so he's lying.
Mr. Kidd, you say Ms. Rawlings is a manipulative user who convinced you that you were the father of her son, Nathaniel, then changed her mind when someone better came along. You and your mother say Ms. Rawlings' mind games have wreaked emotional havoc on your family, and you are 100% positive you are her son's father.
So wow, let's begin with the fact that both Mr. Kidd and his mother are fully convinced that Miss Rawlings is a manipulator, and getting a new man made her change her tune really quick. Yet Miss Rawlings says he can't even have kids. Wow. This one will be interesting, but let's see what really happened here, because for now, both sides are confusing me.
When this first started off, she came to me and told me that he was mine. She was sending me letters when I was gone.
And so you were away when she found out she was pregnant?
I was away about a month after. I went away a month after she found out she was pregnant.
Okay.
Okay, so let me get this straight. Miss Rawlings told Mr. Kidd Nathaniel was fully his baby, but Miss Rawlings is saying that another woman was in the picture? I'm so confused here, and I know even Judge Lawrence is confused with these young kids and their weird relationship. What I want to know is how these two got to the point of having a kid together in the first place. Let's see what happens.
What was your relationship with this man like?
We were in a serious relationship, and I was actually at some point, once I left from being around Mr. Kidd, that I was actually staying with him.
So for now, it looks like both were cheating, and Miss Rawlings was involved with some guy named Kevin too. Having kids at such a young age is bound to create a mess like this, and these two have more relationships than I can count. But let's see what happens next, because some things are not adding up for me right now.
Miss Rawlings, that he was Nathaniel's biological father?
No, ma'am.
You never told him that?
No, ma'am.
You just told him you were pregnant,
When
and
I
then
found
somehow
out-
he assumed he was the father?
When I found out I was pregnant, Mr. Kidd told me himself that he had some type of rare form blood disease and that me and his child would die.
Oh no! So Mr. Kidd was saying all along he couldn't even have kids, so why is he saying he can now? Something is off here, but Mr. Kidd's mother is trying to clear up the situation, and her explanation is making sense to me. But I still don't know why Mr. Kidd is trying to claim this kid as his then. Let's see what he has to say for himself.
Hold on, no, why am I just now hearing about this? So I contacted his friend who gave me Miss Rawlings' number. I called her and asked, we talked for a couple weeks, and I asked if I could see the baby, and she said yes.
What? So Mr. Kidd's mom knew instantly that this kid was his because he looked exactly like her own son. I think a grandma would have good instincts with her grandkids, right? And I'm gonna be honest, they look a lot alike, and the memories she has of meeting her grandkid for the first time are so sweet. You can tell she knows it is her son's kid. Time to hear more from these people.
Ms. Rawlings, you began to let Ms. Jenkins have visitation with the baby.
Me being me as a mother, and I wasn't able to grow up with my father. If Mr. Kidd can't see the moments that he's missing, at least his mom will be able to have them, and his family has some stories to tell.
Finally, Judge Lawrence is asking the right questions because I wanted to know the real tea. Something about Miss Rawlings' story really isn't adding up at all, because why was she okay with Mr. Kidd being the dad at first, but now says Kevin is the dad? Kevin wanting a pregnancy test isn't exactly proof that he is the father. So let's see how Judge Lawrence deals with this.
It's a manipulation tactic.
It was, as long as you were giving her what she wanted and needed at the time, it was okay. I've never one time been told I wasn't the grandmother. She did not ever say that she doubted full-heartedly that Kevin was the father. She said it's a possibility between this one guy.
Wait, hold on. This completely blew me away. And you can tell even Judge Lawrence can't believe her ears. I think everyone in the court is on Mr. Kidd and his mom's side at this point. Why was the baby in the custody of Mr. Kidd and his mom if they aren't even family? This is a crucial detail, and I want to see how this goes.
Video chats every day. We speak every day. We text every day.
Ms. Jenkins, you said you had the baby for a while. What do you mean by that?
She was going through a situation and got kicked out of where she lived because her choice of men are not just the greatest, I guess, in the world. He wasn't safe. She wasn't safe. She was trying to get her life together.
Thank you, Judge, for clearing this whole situation up perfectly. I understand where Miss Rawlings is coming from. She is just a young woman in a bad situation, and it looks like Mr. Kidd's medical condition is serious, so could it be that he isn't the father? I think they've taken care of the kids so much at this point it shouldn't even matter. But let's hear what details are being uncovered.
Temporary physical custody of my son.
Because of the fact that once I told my stepmom, I came to the decision where when I lost the job because I didn't have a babysitter, and I wanted that job, so in order for me to be able to get on my feet, because I was also planning to go back to school.
Wow, Dr. Gator is clearing up so much stuff, so it could be possible for Mr. Kidd to have a child. His condition can be treated, and if he did have it looked at, that means Nathaniel could be Mr. Kidd's child. This makes a lot of sense, and honestly, I hope he is so that Kidd doesn't lose his entire family. But I want to hear Miss Rawlings' opinion first.
Called upon one of our experts, Dr. Jamila Gator. Jerome, will you please escort Dr. Gator into the courtroom? Yes. I'd like to ask her a couple questions.
Hey, doctor. Can I have you go up to this witness stand?
Hi, Dr. Gator. Hi. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are here discussing the paternity of baby Nathaniel.
Guys, I can't believe this. It's understandable that Mr. Kidd doesn't want to take care of a child that isn't biologically his, but it's so devastating. Part of me really hopes Nathaniel is his kid because the alternative is just too sad. But we still have the results to watch out for, so things might work out. Fingers crossed. So let's find out if he is the father or not.
Mr. Kidd, you are the father. You are the father.
Thank you.
And at least even the fact that he said that he would have stood up, that was what I was still going for, period.
Well, at least Miss Rawlings is taking the news in stride, and I guess this acceptance of being the father was what she was looking for. But boy, am I glad that Mr. Kidd is the father. His mother and him clearly care about this kid, so they should be the ones to be in his life, right? Personally, I think this was a happy ending and a good thing for everybody involved.
And that I knew he's a good man at heart and he has a good heart. And knowing that me and him could be on some type of page, that my child will have his biological mother and father.
Don't hug her.
And he has a family, something that I really didn't have.
Hey, you do now. You got a big family now.
So this really is a happy ending after all, and all because Judge Lauren made these people face the truth. These two are really young, and honestly having each other as a support system is the best possible decision. Plus, Mr. Kidd's mom has a good head on her shoulders, so who knows? Maybe things will work out well for them all.
Come here, my baby. I told you from jump I loved you. We got this.
Mr. Lewis comes to court today to end the 44-year-old mystery and prove the man he's always known to be his father is indeed his father. While on the other hand, Mr. McAllister denies all of the claims, saying he is not the father.
And the reason why I was doubtful is because I heard maybe 3 or 4 different versions of who the dad was, and that put doubt in my mind. And I would just like to know before I leave here what the actual truth is.
So, Mr. McAllister, can you tell the court what was the nature of your relationship relationship with Mr. Lewis's mother.
Wait, did Mr. McAllister say he might know who the father is? So after 44 years, he never thought to bring this up? We need answers, man. But before we start judging, let's hear his side of the story.
Never talked to her from that point on.
So what did you hear about the relationship, Mr. Lewis?
Well, with my mom, because the type of woman she was, she didn't want to allow the turmoil from that, a fear, interfere with my life. But as a woman, we had to move on.
What did she say specifically?
Okay, so let's get this straight. Mr. McAllister admitted to hooking up with Mr. Lewis's mother. However, he also stated that he's heard multiple stories about who the father is. This seems to be all over the place. Only the DNA results will tell us the truth. But first, let's see what Mr. Lewis has heard.
I also heard that it could have been my first cousin, Michael. And unfortunately, I don't know. I also heard that, as I said, that a family member told me that was someone from the location, the city that I stayed in. And then I also heard from the mom that he died. So those are 4 different versions, so.
Wait a minute. So the mother told him Mr. Lewis's dad is dead. I wasn't expecting that at all. So how could he even be the father? But it gets even more complicated. There are 3 other stories he's heard about who the real father could be.
As I look at the court papers, I see that Mr. Lewis's full name is Jermaine Michael Lewis.
I never even looked at that like that.
And Michael is your cousin's first name.
That is correct.
Well, at least he's been trying to figure out who the real father is, and all the stories he's heard say he's not the dad. It's good to hear he at least wants to get to the bottom of this and has good morals. But one moment, Judge Lauren discovered something strange.
I'm sure there was opportunities that she let him know. That's why when she told him, and I'm not sure if she did say that, but I can see my mother, if she did say he was dead, it was to protect me because we had already moved. Things were, you know what I'm saying? When he didn't show up and do what he was supposed to do, and she knew that, she had to move forward. Single mother, you know what I'm saying? She had to do what she had to do.
Wow, so he's possibly named after Mr. McAllister's cousin. Truth bomb after truth bomb is being dropped. But is it possible these stories are made up? Let's find out what Mr. Lewis has to say about these accusations.
When I finally found out about that there was a possibility here, I reached out to him and I told him I was gonna be coming to Los Angeles and I would like to meet him. Me and my ex-wife was going on vacation. And
How old was Jermaine then?
He was 16 at the time.
Okay.
And we met and everything. And
we all know how hard it is being a single mother, and it's true maybe she wanted to protect her kid. But Mr. McAllister seems like a stand-up guy who would have been there for his child. And apparently, Mr. McAllister even tried to reach out when he found out he could potentially be the father.
So at the point when his mother said his father's passed away, you move on.
Right.
10 years later, someone you're dating and someone you trust, someone you feel like wouldn't lie to you, says, there's a young man saying you're his father.
Yes, Your Honor.
So then you revisit this issue that you had put to bed for 10 years because you thought the door was closed.
However, directly to the son this time.
So they met when Mr. Lewis was 16 years old. So 28 years later, why are they here in court? Honestly, I am completely lost. New stories keep showing up, new twists and turns. So Judge Lauren, can you please break everything down for us?
My brother's name is something Jermaine something, his son. So why would he name his son, middle name Jermaine, my name, if he didn't know?
I'd like to hear from your witness. Please stand, ma'am.
Now it's starting to all add up. The mother pushed him away by saying Mr. Lewis's dad wasn't him and he was dead. And then people started telling him he could actually be the father, so he contacted him directly. Poor guy. Seems like all he wants is answers too. But could this all just be an act Mr. McAllister is putting on?
I was very young and Mr. Lewis was in town visiting, and I remember my father telling me that it was a cousin that was visiting initially. Later, after Mr. Lewis left and went back to LA, my father sat me down and told me that.
And another truth bomb is dropped. Could it be Mr. McAllister knew all along? Well, seems like we're going to be getting some answers soon. The first witness is coming to the podium, and it is none other than Mr. Lewis's sister, who is also Mr. McAllister's daughter.
Actually, Your Honor, in the beginning, when it was told to me, after I got with Jermaine and he said I was the father, I accepted it. I just took ownership of it because I knew I had been with his mom one time. However, the rumors that was told to me by the mom never saying anything to me, and Jermaine is correct.
Wow. So Mr. McAllister even told his daughter that Mr. Lewis was his son as well. So why is he trying to deny the fact that he's his son here in court? I wonder what excuse he'll come up with this time.
Mr. McAllister, you are the father.
Either he is just the most amazing guy ever, or he's a really good liar. I think we need to see some DNA results to get to the bottom of this. It's time to end this mystery of 44 years and find out if Mr. McAllister is the father or not the father.
What are you feeling in this moment, sir?
I feel grateful and gratitude that now I know the truth. If I had known he was my son, a fleet of elephants wouldn't have been able to keep me away from him.
Wow, so he missed all of that time with his son because the mother would never be upfront and tell him the truth. What a sad story, Mr. McAllister. Do you have any final words?
What do you feel, Mr. Lewis? Can you tell your dad?
I mean, it's I'm willing to do, you know, whatever it takes. We can definitely try to make it work, you know. But I mean, I'm a different person because of my situation, you know,
Absolutely.
what I've been through. So, and I can't apologize for that, you know, for what I've been through.
Oh, you have no. As far as I'm concerned, you have no apology. You were the innocent person. There's nothing for you to apologize to.
Right.
Hannon Falcon just came to court and claimed that David Watkins is her biological father, but he's refusing, saying he doesn't even know her mother, even after she showed him a picture. And now, there's another twist. He changed his name to David Dorsey. Wow, what's going to happen next?
Miss Hannon, you grew up believing one man was your father until the age of 13 when he said, "I am not your daddy." Your mother then told you on her deathbed that another man, the defendant David Dorsey, is your biological father. You are here to prove paternity and gain closure, and you have never spoken to.
Hannon is meeting her potential father for the very first time today, all because of a heartbreaking revelation from her mother's deathbed. I can't even imagine the emotional roller coaster she's on right now. It's gut-wrenching.
So, Miss Hannon, you initially believed another man was your father.
Yes, ma'am.
Please explain to the court.
Well, I believe David Dorsey is my biological father, but I grew up with my grandparents and my mom. Like you said, I was known for a man named Kimball to be my dad. I called him one day for the daddy-daughter dance, and instead of his response being, "Yes, I'll be there," it was, "Your mother's still lying to you."
The pain in her eyes is so real to me. The audience became highly emotional as a result. When she discovered that Kimball is not her biological father, everything in her world fell apart. That certainly is shocking. We all feel so sorry for her at this moment.
I thought I picked the right one for you, but David Dorsey is really your biological father.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
After my mom's passing, I moved away. My grandmother got sick, so I came back. I was actually at work, walking down the hall, and she was calling me Melanie.
I'm really confused. Who is the true father of Hannon? Hannon seemed to be totally disoriented. What is going on with her? And now Melanie Dorsey appears. Wait, is that her sister? Amazing. The relationships are beginning to take shape. What comes next? Let's see.
Miss Hannon, what have you been told about your mother's relationship with Mr. Dorsey?
From our conversations that we used to have is like they talked, like they weren't in a relationship, I guess. Like they talked here and there. I knew that he worked at a fast food restaurant. He was a manager at a fast food restaurant from her. And like I said, they just, I guess, you know, talked, mingled here and there.
Mr. Dorsey, were you a manager at a fast food restaurant?
No, ma'am, but I worked at a fast food restaurant.
Wait, I'm still not convinced that Dorsey is the father, but what Hannon's godmother is saying is convincing enough. I think the severity of the statement and the depth of the details means that we are getting closer to the truth. The details cannot be made up, correct?
Mr. Dorsey, I have seen him come to the job to bring her mom lunch. Her mom would talk about her baby daddy being David. He still looks the same, but he had just got a little heavier.
Your Honor,
You don't remember any of
Your
this?
Honor, I've never had sex with this woman.
Shock after shock. What was that we just heard? Does somebody usually change their name? The judge is expressing how unusual the case is. Everything about him is so complex that both the audience and I are 50% certain that he is Hannon's biological father.
That's your dad.
Oh, wait,
But it
this
was
is David
Watkins.
Dorsey. You said David Watkins.
It was a David
My name
Watkins.
used to be David Watkins. I was adopted, and he changed my name to Watkins. And then when I got grown, I changed my name back to my dad's name.
So now it's getting even more closely connected to you.
How could somebody be that rigid? Why won't he accept Hannon as his daughter straight away? This is an extremely difficult problem. Mr. Dorsey admits that Hannon looks like him, but he continues to deny it. What's wrong with him?
You know, I don't mean to disrespect my dad, but my dad was a Rolling Stone, okay? So he was the man, and like, he was very known on the North Side for being David Watkins, you know, the slayer of women.
Whoa, That spark I just sensed is real, and I can now definitely identify her as her sister. Zero doubts. Not only that, but she also displays an alternative side of their father, the ladies' man. Oh my. Since no one will believe any of Mr. Dorsey's TED Talks, I'm just curious what he has to say in response to this.
It's just me and my 3 kids. So
I love you. Okay, stop. Just don't cry. Don't cry. It's gonna be okay. Because like I told you before, you are my sister.
All right, let's get straight to it. Hannon is desperate to know if Mr. Dorsey is her father. She's visibly torn, but I can see the sisters are very sure. No matter the result, they'll stand by each other. The suspense is killing us.
And so you both submitted childhood photos to the court.
Yeah.
And I'd like to look at those. When you look at it, do you see a resemblance? How about you, Mr. Dorsey?
I see a resemblance.
You do.
Yes, I do.
I have to wonder, why did Mr. Dorsey come here if he was 100% sure he had no other daughter? And now he's getting emotional talking about Hannon. What's going on?
That's all I know. That's all I care about.
And I think it's important to note that Miss Hannon is standing there because she does want to know where she came from. And for those of us who do know who our father is, we've had that all of our lives.
We're reaching the climax, and tears are flowing. It looks like we're headed for a happy ending. The bond between the sisters is heartwarming. Their love for each other is just beautiful to witness.
You know, don't be sorry. You are my sister.
No, I'm not your daughter-in-law. Can you still just be my dad?
Fingers crossed. The results are in, you are not the father. What a crushing blow. Why am I crying? I guess I'm not the only one. Everyone is emotional, but hold on. This is still a happy ending. The love and connections they've built are beyond anything DNA can define. What a roller coaster.
He ain't got no choice.
Number 3.
It has been determined by this court. Okay? Biology creates one family for us, right? But love and connection creates a family with beautiful, unbreakable bonds as well.
I'm stunned. Ms. Lusk and her mother are convinced that the late Desmond Paige is the father of her 3-year-old daughter, Samari. But Desmond's mother, Ms. Paige, vehemently denies even knowing Ms. Lusk and insists her son was in a committed relationship with another woman. How can their stories be so different? This is going to be gripping.
Ms. Lusk, you and your mother say you have no doubt whatsoever when it comes to knowing who your 3-year-old daughter, Samari's biological father is.
Yes, Your Honor.
I can feel the sympathy in the room after listening to the struggles of a single mom. Apart from everything else, is it accurate to say that Ms. Paige's son had a romantic involvement with another woman? We certainly have a long way to go.
I have 2 jobs.
Let's get to
I have
order.
2 jobs. Going back to college in August. You're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. But you should be on my side if anybody because you've been there.
Miss
My
Lusk,
beautiful.
Miss Lusk, calm down.
Wait! Ms. Paige drops a bombshell. She accuses Ms. Lusk of being after the $50,000 insurance money. Wow. Whispers are flying around the room. This accusation just added a whole new level of drama.
It's not my son's
You
baby.
never posted
I know
it on
anything
Facebook.
about
Miss Lusk,
I know nothing
we
about
need-
her.
You said you have an insurance policy.
Yes, Your Honor.
Since the insurance situation is taking a different turn, I'm still neutral. I now want to know why she is here. Since the man has already passed away, it's possible that she is pursuing financial gain.
Only stayed a few blocks from my school. And during certain periods, whether it was gym or my lunch period, I would go, I would walk. He would meet me halfway.
Pause for a moment. What is the purpose of that investigation? I believe that Ms. Paige secretly doubted Ms. Lusk's honesty because there's no reason for her to visit the school to find out whether Ms. Lusk is truly pregnant. Common sense?
How did you get the news that she potentially was pregnant?
Well, I'm thinking that someone told me via Facebook or something like that.
No, ma'am.
All right. Ms. Paige's attitude bothers me. It's just not impressive at all to be proud of your son while avoiding consequences of their conduct. Though it appears like complete chaos, we must investigate further to learn the truth.
Because she'll have me blocked or she'll have it where I can't post comments. And I don't slander her on my Facebook. Not once have I ever said anything bad about this woman.
The expression on Judge Laurenen's face is obvious. We are getting really frustrated with this ongoing dispute, but I have no idea what the outcome could be. This is not a juicy conversation that the audience should be enjoying.
Did you allow Miss Paige the opportunity to see her? Did you say, the baby's here now, if you'd like to?
because prior to that, we were already where she was on Facebook saying, you need to have your daughter find.
The fact that they were all in contact with one another and never discovered the truth is one really puzzling aspect of this situation. Wow. Well, there's more to the story. Despite Ms. Paige's lack of acceptance of Samari, why is she sharing photos of herself with her on Facebook?
So you've never had the opportunity to come by and spend
she
time
held
with
my
her.
daughter at that party. She also she had the opportunity. Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
she had.
Miss Lust, I held her and I got a picture taken.
You had a
someone
few.
want to see.
All right, let's discuss the facts. I think the reason both parties are angry is because the person they are talking about has passed away, which has made them both feel upset. Let's see what happens.
Miss Paige is grieving. She doesn't even have a person to review these facts with. Let's be clear. She can't say to her son, Desmond, I need to talk to you about this, this, and this.
We should take a moment to calm down and carefully listen to each of them individually, as social media is not going to provide an answer. I have a strange feeling that the DNA result will be positive after looking at the picture.
An opportunity to calm down and to see that there are two sides to this story. There really is. Now, the animosity you all have built up, that is because you've handled the situation.
Indeed, it is true that there are always two sides to any story, but to be quite honest, I don't think Ms. Paige's side of the story has much substance, because all she did was make accusations.
I didn't go to his funeral. I couldn't, because how can I show my face as, like, how can I even go? I can't even support somebody.
I didn't have time to grieve. I didn't have time to grieve.
We haven't
The day
either.
after my son was killed, his first daughter was born.
I understand.
As stated, I was aware that this feeling of rage and irritation is a sign of grief. However, this is going too far. How could one make fun of a little girl, not to mention calling her ugly? I don't know what to say. This is just too dramatic.
Why is that? Because each year,
give her a chance to respond.
It's too much drama.
And it's too much for me as well, because you caused the drama, Miss Paige.
I find it hard to comprehend the source of this hatred, especially directed towards a little girl. Even if the DNA findings confirm that she is her granddaughter, it appears that she will not accept her because she obviously has no desire in this relationship.
If that is your truth, I accept that. But what I will not accept is you all operating as if this drama has to exist.
Sincerely speaking, I was furious after hearing Ms. Paige's "I don't know" comment. Right now, all we really need to know is the truth. Thus, I'm eager for the judge to share the DNA test findings.
The probability of relatedness between Miss Paige and Samari Paige is 99.96%.
Let us allow this moment of truth to get some air. That's right. The results showed a 99.96% possibility of relatedness. The reaction has been incredible, and everyone, including myself, is relieved.
Every child needs their parents. And when unfortunate situations arise like this, where life is cut short, all we have left for this child to understand truly who her father was.
All right, while I'm glad the young child at least knows who her father is, I'm also sad that all she can hear are his memories because he is no longer among us. I truly wanted to clap for the judge since she handled this case so brilliantly.
He knows it all because I teach him that. Because that's how I keep her spirit alive. He never laid eyes on her. She's never laid eyes on him except from the heavens.
Ms. Brown Murray is outraged. She came home from serving in the military only to find her husband, Mr. Murray, accusing her of infidelity. Mr. Murray now denies being the father to Ms. Brown's child and insists that she got pregnant way too quickly after returning home.
Ms. Brown Murray, today you say you stand before me outraged because your husband has accused you of infidelity while serving in Iraq. He now doubts paternity of your child.
Yes, Your Honor.
What is this? Opposite day? I mean, I don't mean to be too judgmental. That's what Judge Lake is here for. I just don't see this situation very often. It's usually the other way around most times, and that just makes me even more interested to see how this goes.
Ms. Brown Murray, what is life like overseas for a married woman?
I'll be honest, when you're overseas at first, I mean, there's gonna be temptations, and there's gonna be guys that look good, and there's gonna be guys all around. And you're gonna see guys, but that doesn't mean that you have to cheat.
Before we go any further, can we just acknowledge what a champ Ms. Brown is for actually being on the front lines and fighting for her country? Because it takes a lot to do that. It honestly just makes everything else seem trivial. Like Mr. Murray, just accept the baby as your own and move on. She's done enough already.
Mr. Murray, so what is it made you so doubtful about your wife's time overseas?
Well, she went overseas the day after Valentine's Day. My birthday is on the 12th. What made it scary for me, the first time me being alone in another state with no family.
You know what? I kind of get where Mr. Murray is coming from. It's have those intrusive thoughts when you're that much older than your wife, and also being so far away from her with no idea what she's doing and what kind of danger she's in must be crazy.
Yes, I lost 23 pounds, 25 pounds, not eating, crying. There was an incident, like she said, we on Skype, and I heard this enormous boom. Are they practicing? Americans are practicing, and she smirked at me. She said, this is a real bomb.
It's good to see that Mr. Murray respects his wife and her job just as much as we do, but I can't imagine the level of stress that both of them went through. Ms. Brown seems to have handled it super well, but Mr. Murray definitely took a big hit. He stressed out so much that it physically aged him.
You're there actually facing this danger.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you know he was nervous and fearful on this level, or did you feel like he was trying to hide that from you?
I mean, I knew about it at times, but at times he was controlling it just so I wouldn't be so scared.
Now we're getting somewhere, but again, Ms. Brown's level of composure is astonishing. It's definitely a far cry from the yells, insults, and screams we're used to on this show. That's why Mr. Murray has such strong doubts about this baby.
While I was there in the apartment complex, I met a few people. This apartment complex has 85% of military people either still active or not. And this young boy told me, he said, what you really, this is when I really got worried.
Well, that'll keep you up at night. And sure, it was all just hearsay from some guy Mr. Murray didn't even know, but you have to admit, that's the kind of story that could make anyone have doubts. The question now is, was Ms. Brown part of that horrifying statistic, or was she the exception?
Did you realize your husband got that piece of information?
Yes, but that's not true. Everybody in the military don't cheat on their spouse, and we don't have a code in the military.
Mr. Murray, let's just be honest. I mean, this situation it's been bothering you.
Things are getting even more interesting. Ms. Brown is telling it like it is. All that stuff Mr. Murray had heard was BS, and she's never cheated on him. But he has a hard time believing that, and maybe we will too, once we hear from his mysterious witness.
Wanted you to testify today as to the dynamics, the goings-on in the military, because of course, as you know, he has definite concerns as to whether or not his wife was faithful and whether or not her child is his biological child. Can you explain?
Absolutely.
Temporarily divorced is wild, but I guess that's a small price to pay for freedom. Still, I wouldn't call that evidence against Ms. Brown. That's just something that happens in the military. But who knows? Things could take a turn at any moment.
Ms. Brown Murray, you had a close friend overseas.
Yes, I did.
Is that who your husband thinks the father of your child really is?
Yes, that's who he thinks that I had sex with.
Wait a minute, let me back that up. When I picked her up, I'm asking her, I thought it was kind of odd. Why is he calling you? Oh, just to make sure I'm doing okay.
Oh man, that's not what I'd call a strong accusation. Until we hear something really incriminating, I think Mr. Murray might be clutching at straws here. His paranoia got the better of him, and it shows.
It didn't stop right there.
But it didn't stop right there?
Because when we got our next apartment, she's sitting on the couch. She had bought me some Jordans, and I'm wearing my Jordans. She's talking to him. I heard her tell him, he's not stupid.
This one's kind of complicated, folks. I feel for Mr. Murray, I really do. I also get why he could be skeptical. I mean, that first story about married women in the military, yikes. But I also feel like a lot of his doubts are stemming from his own insecurities.
So while you're giving your husband a gift, you've got your friend on the other line on the phone.
Yes, Your Honor.
A male friend.
Yes, Your Honor.
And so your husband thinks you're being flirtatious. And if anyone would know how you sound when you are flirting, it would be your husband.
You can tell how much Mr. Murray's doubts have affected this relationship, but somehow, Ms. Brown doesn't seem fazed at all. She's confident that she's done nothing wrong, and Mr. Murray is looking more and more insecure by the minute.
Is it common when you return home to continue a relationship, friendship with some of your fellow servicemen, even if they're members of the opposite sex and married? Is that common to continue those relationships because of the bonds built?
Boy, This guy has some dark stories. I get why Mr. Murray is so on edge now. His insecurity plus this former soldier in his ear combined to form a recipe for disaster. But again, he's talking about his own experiences, not Ms. Brown's.
And so, Mr. Murray, as you listen to your witness, these are the kinds of ideas that fuel your doubt. And I am sure, Ms. Brown Murray, as you so eloquently state, that there are people that honor their marriages, their relationships, and don't necessarily engage in this type of activity. So I'd like to thank your witness. Thank you, sir, for your testimony.
Who would have thought someone who had been on the front lines in Iraq would call anything else hard? That's just a testament to the amount of stress Ms. Brown went through because of Mr. Murray's doubt. She just wears it a lot better than her partner.
So describe, what is it like at home?
Even with the doubt, he's still a good husband. He's still a good father. He sits there and he takes time out with her. He plays with her. He takes care of her when I'm at work. So even with the doubt, he's still a good father. He still takes care of her.
I have other kids. All my kids are a split image of me. She doesn't too much look like me.
You know what? Mr. Murray's doubts aren't too far-fetched if you think about it. His wife's absence clearly destroyed him, and every little rumor he heard got translated to what was probably going on with Ms. Brown. It was all put in his head, and it's time to find out if he needs to block out all the noise or if he was right all along.
Mr. Murray, it has been determined by this court that you are her father.
Thank you.
I think my niece.
Mr. Calhoun feels duped. According to him, Ms. Prout is desperately trying to trick him into believing he was the father of her daughter, Amia. But Ms. Prout is just as adamant that Mr. Calhoun is the dad, and the only reason he's denying it is to escape child support. Let's see how this one pans out.
Mr. Calhoun, you say the defendant tried to trick you into believing you are her daughter Amaya's biological father. But after uncovering evidence that she slept with other men, you are positive the DNA will prove you are not. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Calhoun seems pretty darn confident. I'm not sure if that's because of his evidence or if he's just deluded himself into thinking he's not the dad. Either way, keep doing what you're doing, man. It's helping your case already.
Mr. Calhoun, you say Ms. Prout is pinning this child on you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Why?
Me and Miss Prout have been friends for a while, but when I seen that she wanted to make a relationship out of things, I cut her off, and I just kind of pushed away from her.
You didn't cut her off, pal. You barely even ghosted her. I don't know what cutting off means to Mr. Calhoun, but if it involves continuing to have unprotected sex with someone, he might want to think of another phrase.
So, Ms. Prout, you still continue to have sex with him after he made it clear he didn't want to be in a relationship?
Correct, Your Honor, I did.
And at some point you found out you pregnant?
Yes, ma'am. Me and a family member of his, we went to the store. I bought a pregnancy test, went back to his house, took the test. It was positive. The lines were fainted.
Ooh, way to dig up the dirt, Mr. Calhoun. Now that's an incriminating testimony. I don't understand why Ms. Prout would even want to have a baby with someone who wants nothing to do with her, but hey, that's just one side of the story.
Did you say that, Ms. Prout?
No, Your Honor, that was not what was said. I did not take any fertility pills. Once I found out I was pregnant, let me tell you how crazy. This is the crazy part. I did not believe I was pregnant. I went to about 4 or 5 different emergency rooms.
These two are going bar for bar, and the crazy part is, both of them seem super confident in what they believe. The only question now is, who's telling the truth and who's lying? Let's check out this calendar and see who breaks first.
The red indicates the date you were intimate with Mr. Calhoun twice. Unprotected, and the yellow indicates the window of conception. So as you can see, the day you said you had sex with Mr. Calhoun falls directly in the window of conception.
Yes, Your Honor.
Even after the dates got whipped out, Mr. Calhoun is still super composed. Why is this guy so confident? What does he know that we don't? And did you see that reaction by Ms. Prout? Someone's about to get caught up in a lie, and I have a feeling it's going to be Ms. Prout.
I have reason to believe that after a conversation that me and Miss Prout had on the phone, she told me that she was having sex with a dude all the way up until the day of the July 24th.
Oh!
Why does all that sound made up? Mr. Calhoun has Ms. Prout sweating for a minute, but she seems to have recovered well. Like I said, these two are going bar for bar, blow for blow, and it's time for Ms. Prout to hit Mr. Calhoun with a counterattack?
At the end of the day, he really denied my baby because he on child support. Period, point. That's it.
It has no,
We've been back and forth.
Or
one minute I'm the daddy, I'm happy, whoop-de-whoop blam. Then the next minute I'm not the daddy when you get hit with them papers.
Oh man, the distrust between these tattoo is insane. I bet Mr. Calhoun wouldn't believe Ms. Prout if she told him the sky is blue. But let's move on. I really want to know why in the world he agreed to sign the birth certificate.
And she's laying there, the baby's in the nursery, and she's doing her paperwork. She says, I'm doing this paperwork. Do you wanna sign it for your daughter? I said, I don't know if this is my daughter. I want a DNA test. She tells me, oh, the hospital doesn't provide DNA tests. We have to get our own.
Well, that wasn't very helpful. We still have no idea why Mr. Calhoun signed the birth certificate. He looks smart enough to know that signing a birth certificate if you're not sure about paternity is a big no-no. So Mr. Calhoun, what happened?
So wait a minute. So how did you end up signing the birth certificate?
Oh, okay, Your Honor. So we're in there by ourselves. I told her I didn't want to sign without a DNA test. So she gets to basically making me feel like a bad guy. Like, you know you had unprotected sex with me. You know that's your daughter. I even look at the papers. And see
If what those partners said to Mr. Calhoun is true, then it's safe to say that Ms. Prout gets around. She's got Mr. Calhoun so stressed out that he is making up words. Let's see what else he has to say.
My second doubt, Your Honor, is the situation with Facebook. May I elaborate?
Please.
This is barely 3 weeks after she's born. And it's brought to my attention, hey, there's some guy next to your baby's picture and there's comments up under it. Everybody is saying like, hey, this is his baby.
Now this is what we came here for. What a wild thing to say to someone who could be your baby's father. Unless, of course, you know he's not the father and you're just using him for child support.
You trying this case, ain't you, Mr. Calhoun?
Yes, Your Honor.
Trying this case. I know that's right. So you brought some evidence from Mr. Calhoun. Why you posting this pic if you said I was the father? From Kia, Miss Prout. You a dumb blank. You signed the birth certificate knowing you ain't the father, and then you changed her last name while I was still drugged up.
What? Didn't anyone ever tell Ms. Prout that the internet never forgets? It's a good thing Mr. Calhoun brought receipts because there's no way I'd have believed this story on face value. Let's see if Ms. Prout can wiggle her way out of this one.
So let's just understand that we're here to tell the truth. Were there any other men?
No, Your Honor, there was not.
You don't believe that, Mr. Calhoun?
No, Your Honor, I do not. Because the way she...
All right, well, this court has identified a witness and they have something to say. Jerome, will you please escort the witness into the courtroom?
Judge Lake just gave Ms. Prout the opportunity to come clean. And surprise, surprise, she didn't take it. She's sticking to her guns, which, depending on how this goes, will either be super assertive or super delusional. So who is the court's surprise witness? And can they flip this case on its head?
You have information as to what the relationship was between Ms. Prout and Mr. Calhoun.
That's correct, yes, Your Honor.
Please explain to the court.
My godsister was having unprotected sex with another man. Also, before he came into the picture, myself and also other members felt that my godsister was already pregnant.
Ooh, Ms. Dawson came in guns blazing. And just look at Ms. Prout's face. She knows she's screwed, and you can almost hear her thinking about how she's going to fight her way out of this hole. But until then, Ms. Dawson has more to say.
So you were there when this all transpired?
Correct.
Before she met Mr. Calhoun and reconnected with him?
Yes, Your
Now,
Honor.
she admits to the court that she had been dating another man before him, but she says she stopped sleeping with that man 2-3 weeks before she ever met Mr. Calhoun. You say that's not true?
No, Your Honor.
I couldn't have said it better, Judge Lake. All she's missing now is an orange jumpsuit and a couple of questionable tattoos. Oh man, this is getting intense.
I mean, Your Honor, I love my god sister, but baby, you wasn't there. You know, you can't just say, I mean, I expect your opinion or whatever, but you can't just say who I was sleeping with and what I was doing.
How do you respect somebody's opinion that's supposedly a lie about you?
I'm just saying, if that's how she feel, I can't change how she feel.
And what a mess this is. Both of them came prepared to leave it all in the courtroom. But we've got to say it like it is. Ms. Prout is getting hammered. It was already bad enough before her godsister came on. But now, this case is slipping through her fingers.
What relationship does Mr. Calhoun have with your daughter?
He hasn't seen her since she was 2 months.
Not since she was 2 months old?
No, ma'am. Because I felt totally humiliated and embarrassed by that Facebook stuff, man.
No, you felt totally humiliated.
I really did.
Child support papers
because
is what it was.
Even I wasn't worrying about child support, Your Honor.
Good for you, Mr. Calhoun. It's never wrong to step up for yourself and take a stand when people push you around. The only problem is, he already signed the birth certificate, which means he's legally obligated to provide for that child.
So he has stepped up and acted like a father.
Exactly.
This
And
other man is the other man you slept with.
Yes, it's him.
Well, Miss Prout.
What am I supposed to think?
What is he supposed to think?
But he knows that he's not her father.
Have you taken a DNA test?
No.
Just when you thought things couldn't get any worse, it turns out the other guy has been playing dad ever since the baby was born. I'll tell you what, the DNA test results are in, but I have a feeling that the drama is far from over.
Mr. Calhoun, you are the father. Woo! Wow.
Wow. Wow, that's crazy.
You are Amaya's biological father.
Yeah, it's a really hard pill to swallow, Your Honor.
This one is a doozy, folks. Miss Lee is determined to prove that Mr. Green is the father of her 3-year-old son, Kingston. According to her, Mr. Green has denied her son from the moment she got pregnant. And on the other hand, Mr. Green says he knows exactly who the father is, Ms. Lee's sugar daddy.
Ms. Lee, you have come to court today with one goal in mind, to prove to Mr. Green that he fathered your 3-year-old son, Kingston. You say Mr. Green has denied your son from the moment you got pregnant, but today his denial will end. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
3 years is a long time to play the cat and mouse paternity game. The kid is old enough to ask who his dad is and where he's been the whole time. So I totally understand Ms. Lee's frustration. Hopefully, little Kingston can get some answers today.
Mr. Green has been denying my child since day one. He's been denying them for 3 years. He has never came around like he's supposed to. I have to call. I have to do so much to get this man into my child's life. But at the end of the day, I just want him to step up.
Well, Mr. Green, I hate to break it to you, but when it comes to the kid's birthday party, the middle doesn't exist. All Kingston is going to think about is how his daddy didn't show up, not how he tried to meet mom in the middle.
At the point me and her was talking, it was back and forth. We was never in no steady relationship. She knew I had a girlfriend already. She tried to break me up from that, and I told her
He moved into my home. So if I try to break him up, why are you in my home?
Your Honor, she knew I had a girlfriend. She even tried to call
He
me
knew he had a girlfriend, so that's his problem.
Ms. Lee does not mince her words. She tells it like it is, and in my opinion, that's a hell of a good trait to have. And come on, Mr. Green, living with someone you have an unstable relationship with while you have a girlfriend is just asking for trouble.
In your mind, you knew you weren't really in a relationship with him, but you thought he was trying to play both sides.
Right.
Before I got there, she told me she was back and forth between some other dudes. She didn't know if it was his or mine at first.
Yes, I did. I slept with another dude one time with a condom.
Are these two trying to break Judge Lake's neck? They're throwing barbs back and forth like it's a championship game of ping pong. And you know what? I'm starting to think that Ms. Lee is a bit of a loose cannon.
You submitted to the court Facebook posts from Ms. Lee that say, is it wrong to have choices on men and blank all on the first day just in case the D ain't good? Just asking.
Oh, that's a question. That was recently. And that's not when King was born, 2015 now.
Ms. Lee needs a social media manager because her posts are insane. I mean, how does she not melt or run out of the courtroom at full speed as the judge reads her posts? Good for her for owning her work, though. Hey, she's a single woman with needs. What more do you want from her, Mr. Green?
So in your mind, Mr. Green, when you see these posts, you say she's out with whoever got the good D.
Yeah, basically.
I was out with,
basically.
That was recently.
And you admittedly say, that's what I'm looking for, that's what I asked.
I don't sugarcoat nothing. It is what it is, but I just want him to step up because at the end of the day, he knows that he's doing wrong.
These two are all kinds of messy. Ms. Lee is all about that good D. Be careful what you do once you get it, Ms. Lee, or we might be seeing you again very soon. But when you have to literally trick someone to get them to spend time with their child, that's just sad.
Cause I went over there, but we didn't do nothing.
We did something.
Your Honor, she just wanted me to come. She said she wanted me to come over and watch him. You know, keep an eye on him, and she wanted to spend some time with him. And the position I was in at the time, he couldn't come to my place because her and my girlfriend, they had problems.
Unlike most women who come on this show, Ms. Lee isn't after money or child support from Mr. Green. All she wants is for him to offer his time and show up for his son.
Ms. Lee, I want you to take me back. You find out you're pregnant. What happens? Do you tell him immediately?
When I found out I was pregnant, I took a pregnancy test and I told him that I was pregnant. And then I guess he didn't believe me, so he took me to the clinic and they told him I was pregnant. That paper don't lie. So when he found out, he denied right then and there.
Oh man, speaking your mind is both a blessing and a curse. Ms. Lee is proud about having a sugar daddy. Everyone in the courtroom is shocked and appalled. But hey, at the end of the day, they're not paying her bills. Her sugar daddy is.
Pictures and pictures and something else is totally, sex and pictures are totally different. So yeah, I send pictures. Hey.
This sugar daddy paid for the baby shower too.
Baby shower, he buys clothes for him, he does everything.
Where were you? You ain't bought nothing. You should be surprised another dude is doing something.
I know the whole point of going to court is being honest and letting the truth reign supreme. But geez, Ms. Lee is way too honest. Imagine what hearing all that does to Mr. Green's ego. It doesn't inspire him with confidence, that's for sure.
Lied on purpose and
I told him that because at the end of the day, I want to continue
3 years straight
doing stuff with him, you know, without.
Come
and
on, man.
I knew I was on
Oh,
death
so
row.
you didn't want to use a condom?
He didn't either. We did it the first day without. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, and I got pregnant because we didn't do it once. We were doing it for the whole month.
It's hard to keep up with all the mind-blowing details Ms. Lee has been casually dropping throughout this case. So when Mr. Green says he doesn't know what to believe, I get it, because I feel the same way.
So when you told him you were pregnant, his response was what?
It ain't mine.
And that was your first response?
You didn't say it wasn't yours?
I said, I don't know, it ain't mine.
You don't know.
It's not
Okay.
mine.
So, okay, I don't know, it's not mine, but you admittedly were sleeping with her unprotected.
Yes, I was, Your Honor.
Mr. Green better have some juicy evidence on that exhibit, because as it stands, Ms. Lee's enthusiasm and brutal honesty has her ahead in this race to the truth. She's so fired up even the judge can't handle her.
All right, first of all, he was born on June 3rd. I went to the hospital. I asked the hospital, you know, can we go ahead and get DNA testing done, whatever. So a few days later going by, she's telling me, oh, it's too soon for him to come outside. He was just born, this and that. She refused right then, Your Honor.
I refused because he was a day old.
Well, that was something. Not the bombshell evidence I was hoping it would be, but hey, we don't always get what we want, do we? Ms. Lee must be buzzing right now, though. Mr. Green just took the stage with his mystery exhibit and she came out unscathed. How lucky is she?
Sounds like to me, I mean, you all doing a whole bunch of nothing. Like, it doesn't take this long to get a DNA test.
What he wanted me to do was pay for it. I felt like we both had them. You pay half, I pay half. But they ain't got
But it just feels like, I mean, both of you all going back and forth, back and forth. It's like a power play after power play. I mean, Kingston wants some papa play.
Exactly. Ms. Lee has done some pretty questionable things, don't get me wrong, but at least she's been honest about it all. On the other hand, I haven't heard much about where Mr. Green's doubts are coming from.
Like I said, when he was first born, she was saying, she did admit that she slept with someone. Then on top of that, after he was born, she kept asking me, oh, let me see your baby pictures. Let me get your baby pictures, trying to compare them. And once she got the baby pictures, that's when she felt like she was 100%.
Bingo.
You know,
Bingo.
She was
Don't they look like the
100%
same
sure.
baby?
Well, I'll be damned. If I didn't know any better, I'd say those were two pictures of the same baby. We all know looks mean nothing in this court, but how does Mr. Green not see this? They're basically twins, for crying out loud.
In foster care, there is a trauma innate in that. And I see the tears in your eyes. I believe now I understand even more why you are so persistent about this. I think it's your desire to break a generational curse, and I see that.
Ms. Lee has been a cheerful ball of radiance this whole time, but now the veil is dropped, and we can see her for who she really is. A mom who just wants her son to grow up with a dad. These two have gone back and forth for years, but it's finally time to settle down, take in the truth, and forge a better path for the next generation. Take it away, Judge Lake.
Mr. Green, you are the father.
Told you! I told you! Look at him! Look at him! 3 years!
You are the father.
Oh my God. Woo! Thank you. Thank you.